they just found his heart. His heart and the way he loved people is what got him killed, and that's unfortunate.
That is the mother of Lil Jabbo, a 20-year-old rapper from Lumberton, North Carolina, who had already recorded with Boosie Badass, appeared on 50 Cent's podcast, and was putting his small city on the map one song at a time. On June 27, 2023, he was found shot dead in the yard of a home he visited almost every single day, shot by the man he trusted to guard his life. The shooter claimed self-defense, said Jabbo grabbed a rifle and pointed it at him, and the cameras were rolling the whole time.
What he did is he shot him to defend himself and his brother. And the law recognizes self-defense and the defense of a third person as a justification for it. It's not.
But here is what the DNA said that blew that story apart. To understand how heartbreaking this story is, you have to understand who Tazari Butler actually was, because this was not just some name in a news headline. This was a kid who came from one of the most dangerous cities in North Carolina, built something real with his own two hands, and was just starting to see the world open up for him.
That's Lil Jabbo. That's who? Lil Jabbo.
Tazari Emonte Butler was born on January 9, 2003 in Lumberton, North Carolina, a small city in Robeson County that sits right off Interstate 95. Lumberton regularly ranks among the most violent cities in the state, and growing up on the south side of it, in a neighborhood he called 41, meant seeing things at a young age that most kids never will. His mother, Shauna Lowry, raised him in the church, and by all accounts he took that seriously, paying his tithes and going to service most Sundays, even when he was on the road performing.
People cut from a different cloth where I'm from, like south side of Lumberton, it's hard where I'm from. So if you ain't really from the south side of Lumberton, I really can't speak on your childhood or what you went through life and stuff, you feel me, like the ups and downs, but I can speak on our behalf, the ones that's raised up where I'm from.
Growing up in that environment, Tazari could have gone in a lot of directions, but he chose instead sports. He was a dual sport athlete at Lumberton Senior High School, playing football and basketball, and was good enough that the future looked real. He played varsity football as a freshman. He spoke in interviews about possibly going Division I. And then, in his junior year, everything he had built athletically was gone in a single play. He tore his ACL, LCL, and meniscus all at once, which is an injury serious enough to end professional careers, let alone a high school kid's. For a lot of young men in that situation, that is where the story stops. But Tazari was sitting in bed, recovering from surgery, and instead of spiraling, he started writing.
I really took it serious during my injury, like, cause I'm sitting in the bed, like, I'm fucked up. Like, I really can't do nothing. So all I thought about was just my phone and going to my notes, just writing songs back to back.
He had actually been rapping since he was a little kid, freestyling around the neighborhood, recording early tracks on SoundCloud with his brother and cousin, but the injury made it serious. He recorded his first proper album in 2020, the same year the world was locked down, and almost immediately started getting traction.
His style was rooted in southern trap and street rap, influenced by Boosie Badass, Lil Wayne, and Gucci Mane, but there was always a motivational current running underneath it. One of his recurring hooks was literally, "I'm going to put my city on the map," and he did not say that just for the bars. By 18 years old, he had turned that dream into a reality. He connected with Boosie Badass through a promoter, and just like that, they were in the studio.
Now we taking risks. I sent a shot that I won't miss. They got me started. Crank the party. Say it's time for the get lit. Hey, let's get it in. You got a friend. Let's have some fun. Can't be all up in your feelings. Acting like you number one. Popping out all through the back. They can't search me for no gun. Nigga playing anyway. I'ma stand on murder one. Hey, pop shit and drop the shit. They call me Bo. They say people won't show my hand. Play in your leg. We up the scope. They know the scope. Get in my bag and I'll be bad word for the low.
The track they recorded, Soldier Mentality, went on to cross 355,000 views on YouTube.
When we hit that corner, when we hit that corner, let's go. Say you was a soldier, well bitch I'm a soldier. I don't trust nobody, a nigga run up and open it on up. Got niggas ready for the slide, oh they got that fire when we hit that corner. When we hit that corner, when we hit that corner, let's go. Jabbo, we gon' ride with them cutters. Let's go, we got slide for my brother. They hit on my brother, you know we gon' slide, cause you know we got slide for each other. We done came from the church, we tried to go get it, I call him my brother, I love him. We some 41 babies, ain't never gon' change, we call it that brothers and struggle. Talk shit on the name, no smoke. Bro, hit me try up on the scope. I know that he ready, he steady, be stepping in young and be wider for sure. Know this shit can get deadly, I'm straight with that way. Awesome members can't lose no more. Yeah, awesome members can't lose no more. They say you a soldier, well bitch I'm a soldier. I don't trust nobody, a nigga run up and open it on up. Got niggas ready for the slide, oh they got that fire when we hit that corner. When we hit that corner, when we hit.
He then linked up with Memphis rapper Big 30 for a track called Gangsta Vibes off his Baby 41 project, which racked up over 300,000 views on its own.
30, cause that nigga showed me some love. Linked out to the club, he wanted some drugs, fucking so you know we put up. He a real nigga, I'm a real nigga, so we had to link up on this rap shit. I was told Nick Glizzy Foolie had a drill. What I put in these songs, I don't count, bitch. Niggas know I put on for that foe. Come for robbing and kicking the doors. Get some money, don't be by the hoe. How you solid, but you told on the bros. COD nigga, we get them lows. I ain't rich, I came up off a boat. Say you with the gang, give me a soul. Hit they block, then we get up the road. If he play, won't make it home, now his family, they're home alone. Niggas ain't true to their code, get in that jam, won't never fold. I would never sell my soul, you can't be my bitch, play your role. In any city, do a show, you know I bring my G's for show. No, I'm strapped though with that pole, the life we live, don't never know. 4.0 on my hip, a nigga play, but off the rip.
He also used a Yo Gotti open verse on another record, appeared on 50 Cent's podcast, and filmed a music video in Times Square, New York. His solo track 20 Ball was pulling in over 132,000 views independently. He was doing all of this without a major label behind him, just grind and relationships built the right way, and the music was only part of it. Tazari was mentoring young people in Lumberton, speaking at schools, doing back-to-school giveaways, and working alongside city council members on youth outreach. The city's mayor had already given him a pen in recognition of his community work before he was even old enough to rent a car. He even went back to his own high school and performed a show where the school band played his beat live while he rapped over it. That is the kind of moment that tells you a person has already made it home before they ever make it to the top. He had 3 young children, with a third on the way at the time of his death. His mother described him as someone who loved people to a fault. She meant that as both a compliment and, in hindsight, a warning. In one of her interviews, she said that even when she warned him that certain people around him did not have his best interests at heart, his response was always the same. He told her that their hate was going to make him love them harder. That was who Tazari Butler was.
And I've always told him, you know, his thing was he want to make the city. He want to shine for the city. He want to bring the city with him. And I would just see him just always wanting to have everybody make it with him, go with him. And I would always say, Tazari, you have to make it first and then you bring the people. But that just wasn't his, you know, that just wasn't how he was. And I would say, Tazari, they don't like you. Or, you know, he would say, Mom, but they hate is going to make me love them harder.
Exactly.
And that's just the way he looked at things. So even in this, I just have to take that and try to instill that even in myself. You know, I mean, this is a situation that no parent wants to go through. And of course I'm upset and I'm hurt. But my son was a forgiver. And he loved people. He had a heart of God. You know, he loved people no matter what.
The man who ended Tazari's life was not a rival or someone from the streets who had been circling. He was one of the people Tazari was closest to in the world, a 26-year-old Lumberton man named Chamberlain Lee Oxendine, who had been in Tazari's circle for years and had served as personal security at some of his shows. According to Shanna, her son was at Chamberlain's house at least 5 times a week. This was family, and that is exactly what makes what happened next so difficult to process. On the evening of June 27th, 2023,
Tazari Butler drove to 135 Beam Road in Lumberton to hang out with his people. The property belonged to the family of Joston Locklear, who was Chamberlain Oxendine's younger brother. Tazari had been there dozens of times before. His mother checked his location that day and confirmed he had been there since around 4 in the afternoon. The three of them had been sitting in a car together that evening, listening to music and smoking marijuana on what the prosecutor later called a pleasant summer evening. Tazari had come specifically to borrow $600 from Chamberlain, which was a routine thing between them. Nothing in that opening stretch of the evening suggested it would end the way it did. Then a comment about a watch changed everything. At some point during the evening, Joston told Tazari that his watch was fake. That was the spark. Tazari took offense, and Joston responded by asking if he wanted to square up and handle it like men. They agreed, and a fistfight broke out in the yard between the two of them. And according to Joston, neither of them were even sure who threw the first punch. The fight went to the ground.
Chamberlain, who was present in the yard, stepped in and broke it up, which on the surface looks like exactly what a close friend should do. The fight was over, and everyone was being separated. It should have been a story you laugh about later. However, things escalated fast. According to Johnston, Tazari got back up off the ground, ran over to a blue and white Chevrolet Suburban that was parked in the yard, grabbed an AR-15 rifle that was sitting on the hood of the truck, and pointed it at both him and Chamberlain. The rifle belonged to Chamberlain, and Joston tried to tell Tazari not to shoot, and then Chamberlain drew his own pistol and fired 2 to 3 shots, hitting Tazari in the chest and abdomen. Now here is where you need to pay close attention, because Shanna Lowry told a very different story. In her account, that gun never belonged to Tazari, and he never grabbed it off any truck. She told investigators and interviewers that Chamberlain was the one who went to Tazari's car during the fight and retrieved the weapon from inside it, while Tazari was still in the yard with the others. She believed Tazari was shot with his own gun that was taken from his own vehicle without his knowledge. The detectives did not publicly confirm that specific detail, but Shanna stood firmly by it.
And even in Joston's own version of events, there is a detail that should raise a red flag immediately. When investigators asked Joston why Chamberlain's AR-15 rifle was sitting openly on the hood of a truck in the yard, Joston said he did not know. He had no explanation for it. After the shooting, Chamberlain and Joston attempted CPR on Tazari, while Chamberlain's wife, Jana, called 911. Deputies from the Robeson County Sheriff's Office arrived at the scene at approximately 9:08 that evening and found Tazari dead in the yard, with multiple gunshot wounds to the chest and abdomen. Lumberton Rescue and EMS pronounced him dead on scene. His mother has publicly stated he was shot 6 times. But shortly after deputies arrived, Chamberlain was gone. He left the scene and would not turn himself in for over 5 weeks, by which point the sheriff's office had publicly listed him as wanted and considered armed and dangerous.
Right now, we have breaking news in North Carolina where the search is on for an accused. Robeson County deputies tell us 26-year-old Chamberlain Oxendine gunned down a man more than a month ago at a home on Beam Road. Get a good look here at your screen. If you recognize him or know anything about the murder, give deputies a call.
And while he was still out there, he decided to post about it on Facebook.
Now in a year of some change, Johnston's bigger brother is now fighting the M1 case in regards to Lil Jabbo. Now Chamberlain went to Facebook and said the following message about Jabbo. He went off by saying, "Any son of a feels some type of way about me defending my life to make it back to my kids, F you and any son of that got something to say, and I don't give a who it is. I'm never been no snake, always loyalty before anything. Never crossed the MF. I said I love or put my life on the line, for ain't a muck soul can't say I didn't love that Lord like my brother. I put my life on the line too many times to count for that end. Showed him love till he tried to take my life. It's a F situation, but I'm a man before anything. I'ma stand on all 10. Try your luck if you want. I did the same thing any man would have done to make it back to my family. I'ma make it back to my baby, and that's a fact. I ain't Spanish if my life on the line. I kept my peace too long. All these threats on me and my family, I ain't taking lightly. I ain't looking for trouble, but if it comes to me, I'ma look it in the eyes and stand 10 toes. If it was me in that box, MFers would have given about me or my kids. MFers would have been running around talking about they smoking Chamberlain and put me in songs and shit. Ain't got a damn soul was in my shoes. If that was my brother and he loved me the way I had love for him, then wouldn't have never tried me and take me from my kids. What was I supposed to do? And sit there and let it kill me? Nobody wants to accept the fact, since everybody cares so much, why they didn't tell him to not to pull out a firearm on MFers he say he loved. The proof is in the pudding. The laws got camera footage and seen it was self-defense. So everybody keep that out their mouth and speak facts, not your feeling sobs. Need to join the police force since they want to do their job so bad.
Shanna Lowry heard about that post while she was still in the first days of grief over burying her son.
2 days after his funeral, the kid was posting on Facebook calling him niggas and SOBs, you know?
Oh, wow.
Excuse my language. So how can you grieve in a situation like that? And initially, I made a post and it got 2.4K likes where I told the killer, I forgive you. I need to forgive you.
Yeah.
And then he turned right back around, and I wanted peace. I didn't want this fight.
Right.
I didn't want this.
Right.
I wanted to be able to grieve my child and go on and learn to live a new normal.
Right.
But then when he wrote this, the cockiness, him not being remorseful, it woke up the mama in me.
I understand.
The protector in me. The person that wanted the world to know who my son was. And although I love God, I'm a mama too. And that's what made me create this foundation. So yeah, now I want to fight for justice, not for vengeance, but for justice. I want my son's story to be heard all over the world.
Chamberlain finally surrendered himself to the police on August 2nd, 2023. And as if the situation were not already complicated enough, Shanna was also finding out that Joston Locklear, the man whose comment about a watch started the whole chain of events, and who was now Chamberlain's key witness, was already out on bond. He had 2 counts of first-degree murder from a separate double shooting at a birthday party in Pembroke in March of 2022, in which a 20-year-old woman and a 15-year-old boy were both killed.
At 11, the Robeson County Sheriff's Office charged this man right here in connection with the deadly shooting. Joston Locklear faces 2 counts tonight of first-degree murder. The shooting in question happened early Sunday morning at a birthday party on Jones Road just east of Pembroke. Authorities say deputies found 20-year-old Randy Hunt dead, and that they also say that 15-year-old Hazaki Oxendine died at the hospital. The sheriff's office has not released any other information about the shooting, but we do know that Locklear's in jail tonight and he's held without bond.
Chamberlain was charged with first-degree murder on August 2nd, 2023, and held without bond. His defense attorney, Johnson Britt III, immediately pushed back, arguing in early hearings that there was no real evidence against his client and that the charge was being pushed along by social media pressure. Over the following 2 years, the defense filed at least 4 separate motions to reduce bond, at one point trying to bring it down from $1 million all the way to $50,000. Every single motion was denied. Shanna Lowry was in that courtroom for every hearing.
What type of monsters do you have as sons? What type of monster are you to tell a grieving mother that her son is dead and yours is still alive? Who says that? I wouldn't, if the situation was turned around, I would never do that. If anything, I would apologize to her because she's a mother. And then she makes a post and says people don't feel her pain. Feel your pain? You see your sons, you talk to them, you hug them, you defend them, you hide them. I can't see my son ever again. I can't hug him ever again. What are you talking about, your pain?
The trial itself was originally scheduled for September of 2025, but it was pushed back to March of 2026 because investigators were still waiting on a critical piece of forensic evidence. That evidence, once it came back, turned out to be the single most important thing in the entire case. Forensic analysts had submitted the AR-15 rifle for DNA testing, the gun that Jostin claimed Tazari had grabbed from the hood of the Suburban and pointed at both brothers just before the shooting. The results were definitive. There was no DNA from Tazari Butler on the trigger, and there was no DNA from him on the grip either. The gun that was supposedly in his hands just seconds before he was killed had zero biological connection to him anywhere on its surface.
A disagreement between two Robeson County friends led to one of them being accused of taking the other's life.
Prosecutors say this was a cold-blooded popular rapper. ABC 15's Tanya Brown joins us live tonight outside the courthouse where the man is standing trial. So what happened in court today, Tanya?
Jennifer, 12 jurors heard two different versions about what prosecutors and the defense says led up to the that claimed the life of a 20-year-old Lumberton rapper. Now, the defense is claiming self-defense, while the prosecution is saying they have a silent witness that proves that is not the case. Opening statements got underway Tuesday afternoon in the trial of 27-year-old Chamberlain Oxendine. He's charged with first-degree murder in the death of 20-year-old Tazari Butler in June of 2023 at a home on Beam Road just outside of Lumberton. Both the prosecution and defense agree Tazari and Chamberlain were friends.
The trial began at Robeson County Superior Court on March 31st, 2026. Prosecutor and Assistant District Attorney Graham Gurney built the entire state's argument around that DNA result.
Tazari's DNA was excluded as being on that gun for the trigger or the foregrip.
In his opening statement, he told the jury that science was going to be their most reliable witness because, unlike people, it had no reason to lie. The jury also got to watch the home security camera footage from the property, which had recorded the entire incident from the fistfight through the shooting. They heard the 911 audio. They watched Chamberlain's police interrogation video, where he maintained throughout that he had acted in self-defense to protect himself, his brother, and his family. Defense attorney Britt argued that the whole thing was spontaneous and unplanned.
There was no planning. There was no premeditation. There was no deliberation. There was no malice. There's no specific intent to kill him. What he did is he shot him to defend himself and his brother. And the law recognizes self-defense and the defense of a third person as a justification for it. It's not murder.
In his telling, Chamberlain was a peacemaker who stepped between two arguing friends, only to find himself staring down a rifle seconds later, and reacted the only way he felt he could. Britt also pointed to the CPR as proof that Chamberlain had no intention of killing Tazari. He said, if he was bent on killing Tazari Butler, would he have reacted the way he did? But Gurney came back hard in closing arguments, and his argument was simple enough to write on a napkin.
The jury deliberated for less than 1 hour. They came back with a verdict of guilty. Not of first-degree murder, but of second-degree murder, which means they did not believe there was prior planning, but they absolutely rejected the self-defense argument. The DNA had done exactly what the prosecution said it would. On April 6, 2026, Chamberlain Lee Oxendine was sentenced to 200 to 252 months in the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections, which works out to roughly 16 years and 8 months on the low end and 21 years at the maximum. He offered a brief apology after the verdict. Sheriff Bernice Wilkins said the conviction brought a measure of justice to a community that had been waiting nearly 3 years. And Shanna Lowry, who attended every single hearing from the very first one, said what she had been saying since the night she found out her son was gone. Tazari Butler trusted Chamberlain with his life, went to his house almost every single day, and was killed over something as small as a comment about a watch. That is the part of this story that will stay with you.
Guns go to war with the Navy. Let the struggle, that's what it made me. All that fake and all that fake. Fucking this shit, I be hating. If it's person on blood, niggas say it. Niggas plot, I'm waiting. City normal, 41 baby. Let the guns go to war with the Navy. Let the struggle, that's what it made me. I said on murder and money, ain't that bigger than the mall. All that flexing, caught them lacking, made them reach for the stars. I was somewhere in the street, and you couldn't leave out the yard. Can't like to run out on feet, so virgin pull up her home. While Rico work the back seat, just like a 9-to-5 job. We spent it block for about a week, and like 5 different cars. We steady swapping out running, I stuff the rest in my building. My brother sleep with a machete, tell the folks to free judge. Trying to dick in his sister, she gave a drop and we killed her. We ain't gon' let that whole little visa crop that bitch out the dust. Fuck you little bastard, you call kid, we gon' make that admission. And I'm gon' come to your funeral and make your mama some tissue. All that fake, what you say? Fucking that shit, I be hating. If it's person don't bluff, niggas say it. Niggas plot, I'm waiting. City normal, 41 baby. Many guns go to war with the Navy. Let the struggle, that's where it made me. All that fake.
His music is still on YouTube. His city observes Tazari Butler Day every June 27th. His foundation continues working with young people in Lumberton in his name. That is the legacy of Tazari Imonte Butler, known to the world as Lil Jabbo. Do you think Chamberlain shot in self-defense, as claimed in court? Let me know in the comments section. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.